Hey, it's Steve Riley. Welcome to this episode of Great Practice, Great Life. And today I bring back Barb Betts because Barb totally crushed her prior episode on relationship-based marketing. Like, how do you get more clients? How do you make more money? And at the end, she left us with a cliffhanger. And it just doesn't work for me. I was like, right when we were wrapping up the episode, she hits me with this cliffhanger. And I'm like, no, don't leave us there. You have to come back and unpack what you just said. So, Barb, do you remember what you said?
I do. I do remember it very well.
All right. Tell me what you said because it was a cliffhanger for me. I'm like,
Yeah.
you
So
have to come back. You have to
wh-
come back.
what I shared was, building relationships with others is so important. It's critical. It's the foundation of life and business. I always like to say, it's not enough to just feel like relationships are important. Let me rephrase that. Relationships aren't just part of your business, they are your business. However, the first pillar in what I teach is be authentically you. And I know the word authenticity is thrown around like a buzzword. Trust me, I'm very well aware of that. It's one of my pet peeves. But you can't have an authentic relationship with anyone else till you have one with yourself. And so it's my passion in life to help people fix the person inside of them first, because that's the person you're bringing with you to your appointments. That's the person you're frankly bringing with you when you're negotiating with another client or firm across the table or a judge. Sales or not, you're bringing that person everywhere with you. And the better relationship you have with that person, the more confident you're going to show up, the more relatable you're going to be, the more transparent you're going to be. People are going to be compelled to work with you. And I've learned this through my own very difficult journeys of realizing I wasn't showing up as the person I really am inside. And so I always like to start with a really high level reframe because I mentioned it. Authenticity is a buzzword and it's way overused and very misunderstood. And everybody has a different definition for it. And frankly, people are tired of hearing about it, but we're going to talk about it.
So, let's talk about the painful lesson, if you don't mind.
Yeah, there's a couple of painful lessons, and I always like to really get kind of deep into. I've coined something because my first lesson happened when I was 17 years old. So I've now reframed them as 17 moments, and I teach this across the country. How we all have these 17 moments in our lives that put our back up against a wall, made us question everything about ourselves, made us ask the hard questions of, can I do this? Who am I? Did I just ruin my life? Right? My 17 moment happened when I was 17 years old with a positive pregnancy test. And it was a moment where my entire life and my entire career and everything I thought I was going to do in education got put on the back burner. And I always say these 17 moments aren't meant to break us, they're meant to break us open. They aren't meant to define us, they're meant to refine us. They're meant to teach us more of exactly who we really are. The problem is we cover them up and then we start performing. We try to hide these 17 moments, pretend like they never happened, and then start performing in our real life of who we think we're supposed to be. My second big 17 moment happened in my mid 30s when I started suffering. Well, I've suffered from extreme hair loss my entire adult life. But in my mid 30s, it got really bad. And I had alopecia spots and was losing my hair at a rapid rate. And I ended up almost being completely bald on top of my head. And I went to a hair transplant surgeon who read life into me and basically told me I have 3 strikes in the hair department and that all of our hair is pre-programmed to fall out at a certain time in our life, and mine wasn't coming back. So I decided to explore human hair alternatives. Long story, come see me on stage to hear the whole story, but long story behind what happened with that. But what ended up happening was I made a courageous decision to pivot to wearing human hair wigs. And when I did that, I decided to rip the Band-Aid off and stop hiding behind this thing I thought was this incredible flaw, which turned out to be genetics and medical. Nothing I can do about it. So I decided to rip the Band-Aid off, stop hiding, and I came out publicly on social media and shared my story. And that was the moment my life changed because I realized I had been hiding behind so many things in my life. And it turns out when I came out real and raw and authentic and unfiltered, world took notice. Clients took notice. Friends took notice. And what I've learned is people want to do business with humans and humans aren't perfect. And the second you can peel back those layers and stop hiding behind what you think is such a flaw in yourself and realize it's the biggest strength you've ever been given, when you can lean into those 17 moments and you can realize that they actually show you more of who you are. Because the way I summarize all this is we don't learn anything from our successes. We think life is all about success. We think the next success is going to propel us to the next success. And although those are stepping stones and that's true, you don't actually learn anything about yourself from success.
I know right now there's some people listening to this and other people going, but what's this got to do with making money?
Mhm.
So what do you think?
It has everything to do with who shows up on the appointment. Because here's what so my 4 permissions, just to give you kind of the high level
Do it.
overview. The 4 permissions are the permission to stop hiding, the permission to stand in your truth, which is all about we gotta stop people pleasing, we gotta stop telling people what they wanna hear, which is what I'm gonna circle back to. The permission to embrace self-doubt. We put self-doubt in a container like it's a bad thing, right? And then there's self-doubt's big sister, imposter syndrome, that we throw around like the wind blows now, and we've given imposter syndrome a completely negative connotation, and I flip it around as imposter syndrome isn't a negative thing. If you're feeling imposter syndrome, guess what? It means you're growing. You can't feel imposter syndrome unless you're actually pushing yourself to be something better and to grow into new rooms and new opportunities and new situations. And then the last is permission to step into your power, right? I have a mantra: the future you is already inside of you. The next version of you is already here. You just have to step into it. And so, circling back to making money, it comes down to that person that shows up on the appointment. Because when you are, and I authentically speak about this because I was her. I was the girl who showed up on every appointment with the perfect PowerPoint presentation, the perfect stats, the perfect script, telling the client everything I thought they wanted to hear. And I would walk away without the contract, without the client, and feel defeated. I'm like, I just nailed that script. I nailed that presentation. What is going on? What I realized was I was showing up as a performer and not an expert.
Bingo. That's awesome. That's bingo. Say it again.
I was showing up as a performer, not an expert.
Beautiful. That's beautiful. I love it. So everything that you just said, I can totally get behind and push. I mean, this is fantastic stuff. Say more about showing up as the expert, not the performer.
So showing up at the expert, standing in your truth, right? You guys are attorneys. You have people are not coming to you because they can do it by themselves. They're coming to you because they can't do what they need to do without you.
For the client. And most lawyers are still in the realm of what really matters is how smart I am. Like the client's coming to me, how smart I am, and where you're trying to pivot them. Sorry, where you're trying to pivot them is how can I help you? What can I do
Correct.
to wrap my arms around your problem intellectually, emotionally, and how can I wrap my arms around you to carry you through this time period, whatever it may be, whether it's divorce or something simple or whatever it may be. So it's very profound. I mean, it's very profound. I hope that most people gave us the 10 minutes I requested.
Well, I'll give him a bonus to everything you just said, and you have to put this in whatever container is right for the person in front of you. But you mentioned it to back up a second. You mentioned it. It's all about emotional intelligence, right? If you stand in your truth and you show up authentic, and you don't, you're like, but I'm the expert. You can absolutely be a different person that's never going to get hired. Okay, like let's be honest. You can be arrogant. You can be have no show that you care about them, all of that. So emotional intelligence is huge. But something that I teach everyone I talk to when I talk about standing in your truth and I talk about showing up as the expert and not the performer is that you also have to at them with this mindset. I'd rather disappoint you today than 6 months from now. I'd rather disappoint you today than 30 days from now. And what that does is that tells them, I'd rather tell you what you absolutely need to hear than what you want to hear. I'd rather disappoint you right now on this appointment before you hire me than if you hire me and I tell you everything you want to hear so that you hire me, I'm going to disappoint you 30 days from now, or 6 months from now, or a year from now, when everything I know you need to know right now, I'm not telling you. And when you put it in that container, I know for a fact the person on the other side kind of sits back and goes, "Oh my God, they're not purposely trying to argue with me. They're not purposely trying to tell me that I don't know what I'm talking about. They're not saying some line that I was taught in my career, which is like, how many times have you appeared in front of a judge? I do this every day." Like I was taught to say that in my real estate career. I was taught to say, "How many times have you sold a house this year? I've sold 50 of them." That's a very arrogant way to say what I just said. But when you reframe it into, "I'd rather disappoint you right now. Listen, Steve, I know this is hard information to hear. I know you came in here expecting me to tell you something different. But at the end of the day, I'd rather disappoint you right now than," and whatever time frame makes sense for your type of law case, whatever you're practicing.